Right, let's head now to Paris, and local authorities there and the police, the organisers of the Champions League final, are meeting in the French capital right now to discuss the events that absolutely marred the game between Real Madrid and Liverpool. This morning, the French government has doubled down on its claims that Liverpool fans were responsible for the chaos outside the Stade de France ahead of the game. Well, as you probably know, the game was delayed for more than 30 minutes. Our supporters waited to get into the stadium. That's before police fired gas into the crowds. UEFA initially blamed the late arrival of fans for the delay to the game, even though fans were waiting hours to be allowed inside the stadium. UEFA then cited Liverpool supporters, who they said were using fake tickets. And that position has been echoed by the French government, who are refusing to accept responsibility. Speaking to radio station RTL, the French sports minister, Amélie Oudéa-Castéra, said what happened, first of all, was this mass gathering of the British supporters of the Liverpool club without tickets or with fake tickets. When there are that many people by the entrance to the stadium, there will be people trying to force their way in through the doors of the Stade de France. And a certain number of youths from the nearby area who were present tried to get in by mixing with the crowd.
It was horrific. There's no other ways to describe it. It was absolutely horrific. And as someone who was at Hillsborough in 1989, it brought so many terrible memories flooding back. I'm sure many people who were there experienced that same flashback. It was just awful. Police and stewarding, extremely hostile atmosphere from the get-go. And I think we've got to remember this is the premier football occasion in Europe, and to treat football fans like animals, which they did, is unforgivable.
What caused it?
Awful policing, awful stewarding, mismanagement around the grounds, gates shut. I mean, I think we were there an hour before, and we seen where I was entering in turnstile in Section A. I think there was 13 turnstiles and 2 were actually open. So you can imagine what was happening with people trying to funnel in. It was just awful. People getting crushed, kids. It was a really awful experience.
I was horrified to see those pictures of fans, including some children, disabled fans, being pepper sprayed by French police. And from the pictures I saw, there was no obvious justification for that kind of behaviour. So Nadine, I think, is quite right to call for UEFA to urgently investigate exactly what happened there, because we don't want to see football fans, least of all children and disabled fans, being pepper sprayed by police in the way that we saw. So I really am concerned by it. The government are as well, and we need UEFA to properly investigate exactly what happened and get to the bottom of it.
We've heard from a French minister just a few moments ago, actually, saying that they were sorry that children and some adults had got caught up in it. But other French officials are less sympathetic. This from the French Interior Minister. He claimed that stewards were assaulted by Britons who forced entry without tickets or with counterfeit tickets. What would you say in response to that?
Well, I think this is why we need a proper investigation by UEFA to get to the bottom of it. But the pictures I saw certainly did not depict British fans, Liverpool fans, doing anything of the sort. The pictures I saw showed fans with tickets waiting to get in, being sprayed, and I was deeply concerned by that.
So that's the government's response. Meanwhile, the Liverpool chief executive, Billy Hogan, has called for a full and thorough independent investigation.
The stadium entry and the breakdown of security in the perimeter was absolutely unacceptable. And frankly, the treatment of our fans as well. We are asking for a full and transparent independent investigation that can help to establish the facts. People's safety was put at risk. It's important that we understand what happened last night, but it's also important that we make sure that we take whatever the lessons are and ensure that it never happens again.
It's been absolutely galling to see the pictures coming out and some of the people that we've had at the game over there and some of the stories that have come back. I mean, most of them, in the majority, to be fair, were in the stadium nice and early, and they haven't got these stories. But when we speak to some of our listeners and some of our podcasters, the stories are quite frightful. Some of the things that have happened to them, that have happened to their young families, and it's absolutely terrible. And I mean, I suppose the saving grace, and it's easy to say, I suppose, as a Liverpool fan, is that no one's been seriously hurt or injured as far as I can make out so far, and I think that's the that's a blessing, but that should be a given. Anyone going to a football match should expect that as standard, and I think there's a lot of questions certainly on UEFA and of those French authorities that seem to have really messed up the organisation.